to the video. Today we are going to see the dependency inversion principle with the help of a simple example. Recently, Spring has announced that REST template is going to be deprecated and there are new technologies like web client for API calls. That means if we are using REST template, then to have the latest code, then we need to switch to web client. If we have used dependency inversion, we can easily switch to web client. I can show you by an example. Here I have created a controller which calls a public API. It gets a message from that API and return that message to the user. This application, I will run this application and show you how the application works. So this is the message that is being retrieved from the API using the REST template. Now, if we want to change to the web client, then we have to make changes in the controller class, and which is against solid principles. So instead of that, I have created a HTTP client interface which have two methods, get, and I have two implementation class for this HTTP client, one using the REST template and other using web client. In the web client implementation class, I have added the logic for getting a URL when a URL is passed and response type is mentioned. Similarly for the post. And in our controller, we can auto wire this HTTP client and use this HTTP client to call for API calls. So where will this HTTP client comes from? For that, we have to define HTTP client config class, which will define beans which will be loaded in the Spring context in the runtime. So I have created two types of beans here, one for web client and one for REST template. So we will comment out the REST template one and we will use the web client one now. So what will this does is, this will return a bean of type HTTP client with implementation of web client. So this web client will be auto-wired to our controller class. So if we want to switch to another implementation, then we just need to implement these methods and have a bean defined here, comment out all the beans and use the new bean. So in this way we can easily switch between the implementation without modifying our business logic. How the application runs with our new HTTP client API. So in the configuration class, you can see we are using web client, and inside the web client HTTP client class, we are calling the URL using the web client. And in the controller, we have auto-wired HTTP client, and this is used for getting calling the API. So I will restart the application. Refresh. You can see the API is being called and we got our message. So that's it for the video, the explanation of dependency inversion principles. If you have any doubt, please let me know in the comments. Thank you.